Welcome, class. So we're going to do a little review of long division here. Again, this is going to be on paper. We're not using materials for this one. And before we get started, I want to make sure you have some materials. I want to make sure that you have a pencil, your math notebook, open to the next clean page. And on the top, go ahead and write long division. That's the name of this work, and that'll help me just know that that's what you're working on here. So I'm going to walk through a few problems in IXL with you, make sure that you understand how to answer the question, how to solve the problem, obviously, and we'll do some practice here together. If you need to pause the video, rewind it, you can, and we'll do some math problems together here. So the first thing we're going to start with is I have highlighted here the dividend in the problem. The dividend, you'll remember, is it's the number that we start with. It has that word divide, and dividend. And that in this case is 36. That'd be like in the lesson I started with here, it was 12 chocolates. This would be 36. It could be chocolates or something. It's the number we start with before we divide it up. And the second number in a division problem is the divisor. In this case, the divisor is 3. Divisor. It's how many groups are you going to make? So we're going to make 3 groups. So just to illustrate what this problem kind of looks like, this problem that we have in this example is that would be 1, 2. Oops, actually, really it would be more like 1, 2, 3, and then 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 36. So we're going to make 3 groups here. We're going to make 3 groups of 3 groups, and we're going to divide 36 up into those groups. So when we're doing long division, we start with that dividend. So we're going to start with that 36. We're going to write it out. We're going to keep our numbers in the boxes, so we keep everything really kind of organized, easy to read, and just we're working hard here on math, and we want to make sure that it's easy to read for ourselves, just so we can really focus on the math and not get confused about what we wrote. We have 36, and we're dividing it by 3. We're going to make 3 groups. We write that by putting a line over the top, and then a line here. There we go, 36 divided by 3. So in long division, the first step that we do is we ask ourselves a question. And go ahead and write this down in your notebook in case you've forgotten. We ask ourselves, how many groups can I make? If you need to pause it, go ahead. I would like you to write this in your notebook for this first example. How many groups can I make? How many groups of 3 can I make with 3? So if I write that out, 1, 2, 3, here's 3, and I'm going to make a group of 3. There, I made a group of 3. Does that make sense? Now, how many groups did I make? I made 1 group. That's 1 group of 3. So the answer is 1. So the quotient, which goes up on top, that's the answer here, would be 1. So the first thing I do is I write down my answer before I forget. The answer is 1. Now the way I like to remember this is that first step is divide. First step is divide. I said, how many groups can I make? Making groups is division. The first step is divide. And it's kind of fun to think of this. If you have a hard time remembering which step goes first, which step goes last, what order to do them in, I like to think that I use this kind of little trick here where I say, well, D is the first letter in the word dad. And I like to draw this little picture of this guy here. We'll just go ahead and draw him. This is the little picture I draw of Dad. Here he is. See that division symbol? There's Dad. Okay, maybe we'll give him some cool hair. There we go. There's Dad. Next step, I want to say how much of my answer here did I just group up? So you'll notice my 3 10s there. I said, how many groups can I make? I made 3 groups. And so how much is that? It's 3. How do we find that answer? I go 3 times 1 is 3. That was a multiplication problem. So my next step is multiply. Write this down. Multiply. And my kind of, well, that's sort of silly way of remembering that is that the word mom starts with an M, just like multiply. So I write this word mom here. And I can draw a little symbol here. I like to think of this as here's a little mom. And maybe she's about to give you a hug or something. That's what I think of when I think of mom. There she is. Look at that. There's the symbol for multiply. And there's a little tiny drawing of mom. I can even zoom in and give her a little smiley face. All right. Feel free to get creative, draw some fun sketches. These are your notes. Notes are for you to remember. You get to be as creative as you want with them because it's going to help you remember this process. All right, so I did 3 times 1 multiply equals 3, and I wrote that answer right here. Okay, so once I've grouped up those 3 10s, how much is left over? Let's find out. How much is left over? That sounds like subtract. Sounds like a subtraction word to me. So I'm going to draw in my little line here. My pencil got really small. There we go. And that would be subtraction. 3 minus 3 equals 0. And the next step, so I'm just going to walk through this kind of quickly, and then we're going to try one out together. But for now, I'll just kind of move through this a little bit quickly here. Next, I want to look over at my problem here and what do I have left? Is there anything left over that I can still divide? Well, yeah, I've got these units here left over that I can still divide. I need to divide these up. I have 1. Let's see. Oops. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those that I can still divide. So I'm going to take these because I'm still working with them. I'm going to bring them down. I'll show you what that looks like in our division problem here. I'm going to take that 6 there, and I'm going to bring it down here so I can keep working with it because I'm not done with it yet. And so we call that, oh, did I skip? Oh, I skipped subtraction. All right. So subtraction, we show, I'm going to write out subtract. And subtract starts with an S, obviously. So I like to think of that as like sister. I'm just going to write sister. And I'll write sister. And sister, so here's subtract, sister. That's like a straight line, right? And I like to show that with, maybe I'll draw a grumpy sister. No offense, sisters, you're cool. But she has a grumpy mouth, so that's the face that she gets. All right, that was subtract. That last step I did was bring down. I brought down the 6. So I drew this line here. And I brought down the 6 because I still have 6 left that I need to divide up. So we write that as bring down. And that obviously starts with a B. So I like to think that in this long division family here, that might represent brother. And so bring down is this arrow, and maybe we imagine that that is a little guy. We'll give him a little smiley face. Brother. That's an arrow that goes straight down. So that brings us to our division problem here. We brought down, and it kind of brings us to our last step, which is repeat. Repeat. All right, and repeat just means that we start back at the beginning of our process, our little list here, and we repeat the process over again. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. I like to think of that as the last member in this family, which I like to show with a little curvy arrow like this. And maybe this is like, maybe this is a little pup. In fact, maybe I'll draw his head a little bit differently. Maybe I'll do it like this. So it's like a little arrow. Oh, here he is. Look, he's a pup. I'll give him a little body and some little feet. There we go. Rover. Repeat. So in our problem here, that little arrow would look like this. How many groups of 3 can I make with 6? See a little, there's the pup. But don't need that extra art on our math problem. How many groups of 3 can I make with 6? So to review here, we have how many groups can I make? That's number 1. Divide. Number 2, multiply. Number 3, subtract. Number 4, bring down. And the last step, it's really not a new step. It's just repeating that whole process over again. So we're going to use these steps to do this next part of the problem together as well. So how many groups can I make? How many groups of 3 can I make with 6? So I'm going to go over here to my math problem from earlier, and I'm going to make one group of 3. All right, I made one group of 3, and I'm going to make another group of 3. Okay. How many groups did I make? I made 1, 2 groups of 3. So my quotient, my answer here, would be 2 groups of 3. Okay, how many groups did I make? I made 2. Quick, write down your answer before you forget. There we go. Next up is multiply. What is 3 times 2? In other words, how much is there that I grouped up? Let's find out. Well, 3 times 2 is 6. All right, what's the next step here? Next step is subtract. 6 minus 6. So you need to make sure you have those steps over here in your notebook written down, because in the next problem I'm going to be referring to them. I'm going to ask you questions about them, and I want you to be able to answer from the notes in your notebook. 6 minus 6 is 0. All right. Subtract is done. 4 is bring down. Is there anything left to bring down? Anything left to bring down up here? Nope, nothing left to bring down. That means I need to stop. I'm done. I have my answer. When there's nothing left to bring down, you are done with your division problem. The answer, the quotient in this example, is 12. In the next video, we're going to practice some of this together, and you're going to do some math a little more independently on your own.